We have concentrated on getting more kids through high school, and that seems to have worked. The numbers are up there, right?
Right.
But then a lot of them either don't pursue any other education, or if they start, they don't finish. What do they tell us about why they don't finish?
Well, one of the big reasons that when we came into office, we focus on three areas. One obviously is high standards and getting college-ready standards at the state levels. And the other thing is around closing and transforming low-performing schools, is because the quality of teaching in Latino schools is not good. It's not where it should be. So we've invested an unprecedented number of resources to improve teacher effectiveness and also to be able to do some very critical reforms at the high school level. I'm a former high school principal, and we talk about increasing the school day. We're talking about improving the curriculum. We're talking about providing pathways for teachers to have leadership and instructional leadership positions within schools. We're talking about giving teachers the data and the tools to make better decisions on what students are learning and making sure that students have access to advanced placement classes, to more of those classes that really allow students to want to be in school versus just getting them out of school. And we know that many students leave school because they think it's irrelevant and because obviously schools are not reaching out to them.
Were you a principal inside a big system?
Yes, I was a high school principal in Chicago Public Schools under Secretary Duncan.
If you decided that your kids needed a longer school year, a longer school day, because their educational attainment was different from kids in another part of town, were you free to do that?
So what I was able to extend the school day in my school, and this was with after-school programs. But I think more importantly, what was key to the success of my school was that teachers had a voice in what happened in the curriculum, and there was a lot of creativity and innovation happening at my school. And that was really spurred on with teachers evaluating themselves, with teachers setting some goals and benchmarks on student achievement, and again, making sure that there was a plan in place that was put together by teachers, by the administration, and by parents.
Because in a lot of systems, you don't have that flexibility. There you are, you're the manager of your enterprise, and you may decide that your kids need a longer school year, but it's much more complicated than just saying, wow, we need a longer school year, and just doing.
Right, and so you're right, it takes strong leadership. And again, when I was there in Chicago, there was strong leadership there, but also I think it takes a will. So in the clip you showed Juan being in New York. I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, doing the same conversations. And what we've seen from educators across the country is that there needs to be leadership at the school system, at the schools, and in the classrooms to really make this happen and to really make sure that students are able to achieve their academic goals.
Juan Sepulveda mentioned that a third of all kids in preschool are Latino.
Right.
Those percentages are going to grow and then move through the system from elementary to secondary and on to college. Have you, has the president, has the Department of Education made a case to the rest of America that might be saying, hey, I'm not Latino.
Right.
I don't live in an urban area.
Right.
I don't know any kids who go to these schools, that their future prosperity, that their ability to get a fully funded Social Security check, to have local taxes paid so their streets are taken care of and their parks are taken care of, that there is a stake that other people don't realize they have in fixing this.
That's exactly what we're doing, Ray. We've identified 31 cities across the country that we're doing that with. And so we're going and forming these public-private partnerships in these cities to create college completion goals. And so, for example, one of the first cities that we went to was the city of San Antonio, where we helped them in their visioning process, kick off their visioning process, where just really they announced that their city was going to have 85% of their students by the year 2020 college ready and able to enroll in a college. And the argument that we're making, not just with educators, but also people in the private sector and the business community, is if you are able to reduce your dropout rate in half, you're going to add millions and millions of dollars in a new workforce revenue and taxes, people purchasing homes, people purchasing cars. And if you do not do that, if that is not a focus for you in your town, your community is not going to be economically viable in the future because of the cost and the drain that not educating those students are going to take a toll in your budgets. So that's the argument that we're making. And again, in those cities that we're going to, it's starting to get some traction because that economic argument makes perfect sense no matter who you are.
One part of the marketplace that's moved aggressively into minority communities is for-profit colleges, online colleges, and some of them have posted terrible results. They take kids' money, they take families' money, and they end up in debt and without a credential at the end of the process. Can the Department of Education say, look, unless you do a better job, we're not going to extend loan programs to you. We won't let kids use these loans, these grant programs, to pay for the education you provide.
So we're about to release some regulations on gainful employment that's targeting for-profit colleges, but also we see that it's also relevant to non-for-profit colleges. What we want to do at the end of the day is to make sure that students are, when they receive a 2-year or 4-year degree, are able to enter the workforce with the skills necessary, and that corporations and companies also have an input in working with colleges to let them know what are the programs that are needed to be able to prepare their workforce. So those regulations are coming out soon. We do see a role for private colleges in making sure that we achieve the president's goal, but right now there are too many bad actors that are taking advantage of the federal programs that we have at our disposal.
English language learners, big challenge, only a portion inside the Latino student population. Most of them speak English, but a portion don't, and they need a different approach. Are they getting it?
So right now, one of the things that we've heard through our national English language conversations that we did across the country is that we've seen some great programs across the country that are having some positive effect. One of the biggest things that we've heard is around dual language programs. And it's no secret that the president and the secretary want students to be able to speak more than one language and are supportive of those programs because, first of all, it's going to make us more competitive. The challenge that we're seeing right now is that in many states where this population of students are entering, in the Carolinas, in Georgia, where educators are still right now not very well trained and informed on how to adequately teach those students and make sure they have access to the curriculum. That's where the challenges we're facing. And again, one of the things that we're hoping for in the next few months is that Congress is able to pick up the reauthorization of ESEA, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, to be able to better address those issues and provide resources to address the issue of English language students.
Well, places like Georgia and the Carolinas probably also have the newest communities that are made up with people of adults who are more recently in the country and probably have a higher percentage of their kids needing help with English. Is that a fair assumption?
It is, and I think the system is still trying to figure out how to address those needs. Places like in Texas and California and in Chicago have different needs, but there are already some programs and some systems that address the needs of English language learners, where in states where this is a new issue, they're really having a hard time grappling with it, and again, they're looking for us on guidance and assistance.